Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Smart Woman's Guide to Murder by Victoria Dowd. Narrated by Esther Wane. Imagination is a good servant and a bad master. The simplest explanation is always the most likely. The Mysterious Affair at Styles, Agatha Christie. It was then that the idea came first to me, that by writing down the events of those few years, I would rid myself of a burden. The King's General, Daphne du Maurier. Rule 1. Never stay in an isolated country house with a disparate group of possible sociopaths, or a book club. A body in the snow. It happened when the snow first fell, violet white, branding our eyes with its glare and covering our steps almost as soon as we had lifted our feet. The cold bit deep into our faces, and when we opened our mouths to speak, snow singed our tongues. The wind laced round our legs as we leaned into the fierce air. It was just as Mother shouted towards Aunt Charlotte, "This is madness!" that we first caught sight of the body. The woman was only half visible beneath the rotten trunk of a long-dead tree, the snow silently covering her. The tree had fallen long before this body appeared, parts of its withered trunk already eaten away. She had been shoved into its hollow along with her strange nest of gaudy scarves and silk shawls. Fully dressed, she was wedged face down in the dirt, her legs impolitely spread, a disrespectful pose for her final moment. I wanted to rush over, gently ease her legs together and cover her carefully with one of her thin scarves. It was strange that the preservation of her dignity could overshadow the simple fact that someone had killed her. The whip of the storm stung our raw faces. She would be completely lost under her blanket of snow soon. She must have lain here since last night, cold pearls of snow scattering across her back. Whoever had done this, whoever had handled her like so much meat, had stepped outside the boundaries of humanity. I could feel the familiar panic rising like bile. There was a blank moment, the same as climbing into a scalding bath, before I understood the pain, before it settled and gathered itself. Then it dragged up through me. I tipped my head back and stared into the battlefield sky. 2 stinging tears were dislodged and traced down my cheeks, framing my face. The black twigs of the tree clawed at the sky, as if they too were trying to escape. We stood, 3 women, none of whom had ever known how to respond to death, staring at the crude tomb of a stranger. A bird watched me, its cold charcoal eyes saying, "I know you." Suddenly its wings splashed up, an ink stain against the sky. None of us could have known, when we first climbed the steps of the house, just how much blood was going to flow in those next 48 hours. The slaughterhouse. That's what the press would call it later. 6 women and a dog assembled in an isolated country house. There was one non-woman, as Mother refers to men, but he's one of the dead now, too. We're all very Bechdel here. I don't think of murder as inherently masculine. Certainly not now. But I do think about murder a lot. Most of the women I know do. Maybe that's just the company I keep. This had started out as some aspirational weekend retreat for my mother's book club. I was just the uninvited guest. They had a reading list as challenging as most middle-class toilets, and for reasons that will become obvious, I'd always known it as booze club. Some of us would go on to kill. Some would die. I survived. When our story finally emerged, it went as viral as the plague. But we women remained a collection of loosely drawn figures, our story nothing more than a vapour trail. We just became ill-formed spectres, and the subject of many fabulous speculations. Until now. I always come back to my motto. The truth cannot be libellous. And the truth is that when we entered that house, we were like everyone else, with all our dirty little secrets and festering resentments. What is also true is that my mother was certainly not the sort of person anyone would want by their side on a life-threatening weekend. As we drove down the long gravel drive to the house, she made her position quite clear. "Dearest Ursula," I held up my finger to interject. "You are not even supposed to be on this trip," Mother went on, "so please do not at any point feel the need to utter your opinion on anything. Stay silent throughout." I dropped my finger. "May I remind you, this is my one and only weekend away with my book club, and you had to come and piss on it. You are here on my sufferance, and if you hadn't had another one of your incidents—" "Mother," I said, "I've not just wet myself. I'm sure I will cope. And yet you so rarely do. How hard can your book club be? You've read Gone Girl 3 times in a year." "That is not the point. We are a serious literary group." "Old detective novels and a few slightly titillating thrillers you relate to because the characters drink too much really doesn't constitute a serious literary group." She pursed her lips with her usual motherly contempt. "If you hadn't been doing your girl in the attic routine again, I would be winging my way here without my self-absorbed child. I'm 25. And yet you act like a teenager and dress like a pensioner." I turned to look at the side of her face. "Oh, so we're doing the analysis thing again, are we? Can you just stop trying to fix me like I'm the leaky tap or something?" The look. Mother's sideline is trying to remake me in the way she might deal with an untidy bed, giving it hospital corners, clean, fresh sheets every day, and the fake sweet scent of lavender. My refusal of this sanitized treatment only angers her even more. My attempts to explain that there should be layers, stripes of life and sediment, are always met with her dismissal of the idea as just an excuse for dirt. "And," I added, "you did the locking me in the attic routine, as you so beautifully style it, which is just shit parenting, rather than gothic fiction. That was because of the incidents after your father left." Her foot slowly ground down into the accelerator as if it was someone's throat. Whose is not important right now. "Mother and I have always had a very healthy relationship, full of banter and playful repartee. We have always been so close, ever since Dad's death. Dad was God, in case you were wondering. Until he died, of course. And no, he wasn't murdered, just a common old garden death. I was 13 when he died, and Mother immediately sent me to boarding school. In fact, she ploughed much of the life insurance into my new school and spent most holidays at the bookshop working from dawn till dusk to keep me there. She owns an antiquarian bookshop in Kew, and somehow resisted the temptation to call it Pandora's Box. She's Pandora, and I'm Ursula. Ursula Smart. She never considered Ursula's box. That's just not a thing. That, and the fact we're not really called Ursula and Pandora Smart. Those are the pseudonyms I chose for us. My real name is another misdemeanor I set firmly at my mother's door. I looked out of the greasy car window. We'd arrived at Ambergris Towers. The vast carved facade of tombstone granite loomed down in disapproval. As with every journey I ever took with Mother, she had begun by telling me not to lean my filthy head against the glass. I'd started this one by posting #BoredWithMother comments on Twitter, and ended here, with my head resolutely against the car window, scrolling through various memes involving matricide. "You can put the bloody phone down now," Mother snapped, "like a bloody worry bead." She opened the door and made one of her characteristic exiting the car final comments that don't allow for any answer before the door shuts. It's not the most charming of tactics, but it's effective. "You'd think you'd have changed the screen by now." I didn't bother to tell her I kept it that way purposefully, to avoid the upset of breaking a new screen. Mother wouldn't understand the value of keeping things broken so they can't be broken again. She'd say that kind of pretentious navel-gazing is why everyone thinks I'm weird and dislikes me. She's got away with words, my mother. By everyone, she means her and her midlife crisis friends who she keeps around to make her look normal. Their interpretation of being middle-aged is very similar to history's description of the Middle Ages. Nasty, brutish, and...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?